Once upon a time, in the land of turnips and jam, there was a young girl named Marissa who didn't know how to dance. She tried very hard, and she always followed her lessons. But when she got home, she could never dance. So one day, she went to her mother and said, "I don't think it's worth it to know how to dance. All of this effort, all of this time, and I'm no better today than I was a year ago." And her mother said, "Maybe you're right. Maybe learning to dance is not the best path for you. So let's try something else. Let's teach you volleyball." So Marissa went to a volleyball court and she found some other people to play with, and they played volleyball all afternoon. And it turns out Marissa was very good at volleyball. It came to her naturally. She could bump and she could set and she could spike, and her serve was very powerful. So she decided, you know what? From now on, I'm not going to learn how to dance. I'm going to learn how to play volleyball. The next week, she went back to the same volleyball court and found the same group of people. And they played again. And again, Marissa succeeded. Everything she did went well. She scored more points than any of her teammates or the other team combined. It was just a blitz. Every spike hit the ground on the other side of the net, obviously. And that day, Marissa came home and she told her mom, "I can play volleyball, but I don't get anything out of it. I'm very good, and people have been saying nice things about me, but I don't get a sense of fulfillment out of playing volleyball." And her mother said, "Okay, well, maybe volleyball isn't for you." So the next week, Marissa tried riding a bike, just cycling across trails and through the city, and just getting on a bike and going everywhere that her feet could take her. And that was nice for a time, and Marissa felt fulfilled, but she felt lonely. So a few weeks later, after doing all of this biking, cycling, she came home to her mom and she said, I don't feel fulfilled." And her mom said, "Well, let's try something else. We've tried dancing, we've tried volleyball, we've tried cycling. What else do you want to do?" And Marissa said, "I want to dig a hole." "I want to dig a hole? I want to dig a hole. Just see if I can dig a hole." So they said, "Okay." Well, they went to the hardware store that day and they bought Marissa a nice sturdy shovel. And Marissa went out to their aunt and uncle, who had no name. Neither her aunt nor her uncle had a name because I can't think of one right now. But they had a farm, and there was an entire field that they weren't using. Said, "You know what? You can dig to your heart's content." And Marissa, every afternoon for 2 weeks, went out to her aunt and uncle's farm and dug a hole. And it was a really impressive hole. But at some point, she got to a point where she dug so deep she couldn't climb back out of the hole. It was too steep on the sides. And everybody just assumed that she was having fun digging her hole, which she had been up until this point. But Marissa was stuck. She didn't know what to do. She just had only time to herself for several hours. She was just sitting there alone. And all she could do was sit and concentrate and meditate and think about herself and her own life. And after an hour, she got a little bit antsy. And after 2 hours, her body just felt like it needed to move. And after 3 hours, she started hearing music. It's like, where's this music coming from? It was just in her head. It was just music that came to her from her meditation and from her concentration and her self-introspection. And her body started to move to this music. And it swayed and it twisted, and she kicked her feet a little bit. And soon she realized that she was dancing. And it wasn't the kind of dances that she was being taught in her lessons, and it wasn't the kind of dances that she saw other people doing on TV or at parties. It was just Marissa's own personal dance. So after 4 hours, her aunt and her uncle realized that maybe something was wrong. So they came by the hole and they found Marissa, and they lowered a rope, and Marissa climbed out. And that was the last time Marissa went to her aunt and uncle's farm to dig a hole. They filled it back in, and the next season, the crops they planted over that hole grew better than anything they had seen in years. And Marissa realized she didn't need dance lessons, she didn't need volleyball, she didn't need cycling or digging holes. She realized that she could dance her own way, that nobody else needed to know about.